Oscar BEVIS, IFL TV MTK Global. Delighted to be joined by my good friend, Mr. Dave Coldwell. How are we, mate?
Very good, mate. Thank you. Very good.
Good. Going to jump straight in. Lots to talk about. Sickened for both Joshes, really, the last couple of weeks. We wanted boxing back, and in all fairness, it's come back with a couple of talking points.
We've had massive drama these last couple of weeks. You know, as a neutral, it's been amazing. It's what you love the sport for: the drama, the upsets, the shocks, the ups, the downs. It's had everything, and quality fights, quality boxing displays, hard, great fights, tear-ups, wars, action. It's been brilliant. Better when you're on the winning side, devastating when you're on your losing side, but ultimately as a sport, it's been a great spectacle. And to say it's behind closed doors, it has been high level entertainment. We just want the fans back. We just miss the fans because, you know, just saying to you off camera there, can you imagine these last two shows? Can you imagine if they were in packed out arenas? Oh my God, atmosphere would have been unbelievable. It would have been electric. Celebrations would have been amazing. It would just be brilliant. And yeah, can't wait for those nights again, really.
We had the silence after Lara stopped Josh was deafening, but I can imagine in Leeds it would have been double deafening last week a couple of days ago when there was blood everywhere and Kelly and Avanesyan were going at it as well. Has it made you realise how much you miss the fans? Because at points, I suppose, you could probably overlook it because for your whole boxing career, fans have been there. And I suppose now you are sort of understanding the importance they play.
I always appreciate that. I love the atmospheres. I love that. When I go to a show and I'm not working, I just love the atmosphere. I love seeing people interact, and you know, it's just that's what sport is. Whether it's football, whether it's boxing, you know, they're my two passions. You know, when it comes to sport, and both sports without the fans are completely different. But boxing, between Fight Camp and Wembley, they're both behind closed doors, but they're both different. Wembley's more sterile. It's just more. It seems more eerie. The scene's less noisy. It seems even more quiet than what Fight Camp did. Fight Camp, you had the drones. You had a bit of it's outside noise, isn't it? Inside an arena there that's got nobody in as such, it's very, very quiet. Yeah, we need fans back. It's been brilliant, and the fights have been great. And I've got to say, for the fighters, and this is no excuse for winning and losing, because both fighters are in there. I'm not saying anything like that. But what I will say is it is very strange for the fighters. It is. It's not what they used to. Even when you boxed on dinner shows in the amateurs, there was always noise. There's clunks and cutlery, rattling about, and glasses being, cheers and stuff like that. And you're hearing the odd voices, "Come on, blue, go on, red," and that's all you hear. But you're hearing noises. Whereas at Wembley, it's quiet. It's really, really quiet. So for the fighters, it's very, very strange when they're coming out and they've got this big production. Everything, it's great. It looks the bollocks. It really does. But when they're walking out, and I see it with these guys that have even got personalities and what have you, and like enjoy the ring walks and stuff, it's almost like you feel awkward walking out to ring and kind of soaking it up as such, because there is no crowd. You use the crowd's energy when you're walking out as a fighter. Whether they're booing you or they're cheering you, they're all their eyes are on you. Whether it's 1,000 people in there, a few hundred people there, or it's like thousands and thousands, you get that charge, that energy, and then the music's bouncing, the atmosphere off the crowds and things like that, and you can kind of like relax and enjoy the ring walk. Whereas with this, it's kind of like you want to go, you're feeling your music, you wanted to kind of like vibe to it, but you feel a bit of a dick because you're on your own, and you're just thinking, so you just like hunch your shoulders up and just walk straight to the ring, sort of thing. Even just down to that. So yeah, it's very, very weird. So I will say to every single fighter that's been boxing behind closed doors, not just on the Matchroom shows where I've been at, but everywhere else, fair play to them, because it does, I think it does emphasize just how serious the fighting game is, because that ring walk, we always say, enjoy your ring walk, enjoy it, suck it up, let your personality come out, just enjoy it. And that little, you've got the butterflies, you've got the nerves, but then the ring walk, a lot of fighters kind of like, it helps them just alleviate those nerves, and they enjoy the ring walk before, they get in the ring, and that's it. So it just makes it different. It's very hard to explain if you've not fought, and it's very hard to explain even more so if you've not actually been in that arena when it's empty and when you see the fighters walking out. It's strange, it's but yeah, so fair play to him. But like I said, it's not no excuse about who's lost or whatever like that. Fair play to every single fighter that's gone out there and put on a show, because they've been putting on some great fights, great boxing displays.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I'm gonna move on to the weekend in a sec, but I just got to say, I found myself whispering ringside. Like when I was sitting there, the Warrington fight, I found myself whispering. Like, what I think, why am I whispering as if it really matters? Like, say little bits in here, and I'm trying to keep my voice down. Like, it's so strange.
Yeah. You actually feel when you're sat in the crowd, whereas normally you'd be shouting for your fighter or your fighter that you want to win, or even as a manager, you feel awkward shouting because it's just so quiet. So you feel awkward shouting. So you're a bit more quiet. You just sat there watching, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's weird. It's
the loudest voice for
the whole
Josh.
thing.
You were the loudest voice for Josh when, what was it?
When he got hurt, yeah. But listen, if anyone, listen, a Brit against somebody else, I will always want them to win. And when they're in trouble, I'm not going to be shouting from them and saying, "Oh, do this, do that." When everything's under control and just listen to the coach. But when sometimes when a fighter is in trouble, we always say about crowds get you through it, sort of thing, and you soak up the energy and stuff. And it's just it's just natural. I tend to do that sort of thing. It's just
it was just so weird hearing a couple of voices rather than a couple of thousand. But yeah, it's like I said, just can't wait for fans to be back. Let's jump into Saturday's action. I'm going to start pretty bluntly, actually. Where did it go wrong for Josh, would you say? I know it's quite a big question, but
do you know what? People love to say fighters should have done this, should have done that. We all do. And hindsight is a fantastic thing, but we're never armed with hindsight when we go into something. The one thing that I will say is that experience plays a massive, massive part. It's not an excuse, it's just facts. That's how it is. Josh Kelly, we all know his skills, sharp, speed, talent, everything. But until you go through a fight like that, at that level, you don't know what else you need to add to your game. You can't buy experience, you can't borrow experience, you can't pretend to have experience. You can't say because you've toughed it out in sparring and rode out tricky moments in sparring with a head guard and 14 and 16 ounce gloves on, you can't say that you've got that experience. Because when you get into a fight, under the pressure, everything at stake, and there's no head guard, and there's little 8 or 10 ounce gloves on, it's a different kettle of fish. It really is. And that is when you've then got the experience. And at that time, it's whether you can get through it, tough it out, ride it out, and get back to your boxing and keep your boxing momentum going and what you do well. Or it catches up on you, you're just not ready for it yet. You haven't got that experience yet, and you don't know how to handle it yet, or you're not, you're not quite as good at that you need to be yet. But then, if you use that loss and you use what cost you the loss in a productive and positive manner going forward, you have now got that experience. You have now got that reference point. You know what that is in part of boxing. You know, there's so many different elements to becoming champions and great fighters. It's not just about talent. It's not just about how hard you punch, how fast you punch. There's so many different factors. And, you know, Josh Kelly, you will forget that, what was that, his 12th fight? We forget that, you know, he's jumping up levels. So fair play to the kid. You know, fair play to the kid. They believed in his ability that much that they thought his ability was going to be enough. But sometimes in boxing, it's not just about the ability. You have to have that extra bit of knowledge, that extra bit of ring generalship, that extra little bit of savvy and understanding what you need to do in order to manage the moments and manage the tough moments. And he'd not experienced that part yet. Now he's experienced it. Now he can move forward. But Avanesyan's a tough bastard. Fucking hell. And he's heavy-handed, he punches hard, but he knew what he had to do. He knew that he couldn't allow Josh Kelly to breathe. He knew that he had to squeeze him. He knew had to make him work harder than he wants to work, and stick with it. Get through the fast moments, ride that part out, and then it'll turn into his sort of fight. And he did. You know, he did. Great fight. Great fight.
Oh yeah, it was. It was a cracking fight to watch, and you know I don't want to lose that when I ask these questions as well, and lose as well the fact that David is a world level operator. So don't want to seem disrespectful almost asking these sort of questions, but these are the things I've seen and that people might have alluded to. So one of them was that because of his amateur career and the way perhaps he boxed the first 3 rounds, and you've got to maintain that slick style over a longer period. We know that. Could you question that Josh might not have taken to the pros like we thought, perhaps?
I don't think it's about not taking to the pros. I don't look at him and just think that, oh, he looks like an amateur. You know, when he's coming through, I look at his style. I think he's got a fantastic style, but it's just a little bit of knowledge and ring generalship that's lacking. So, so Jordan Gill, when he got beat by Tinoco, going in, he wasn't 100%. He didn't feel well, but that's not what cost him the fight. His body couldn't absorb the shots, but he was in a position to get hit with those shots. He made the wrong choices in there, trying to fight with a Mexican and trying to meet him to keep him off me because I don't feel great. I don't feel strong enough. I've got to hit him hard to keep him off me. So he was exchanging with him, and he was getting bashed up on the inside. He was exchanging wide. He was leaving gaps. So when we move forward, when that fight's done, you've lost. It's devastating. So I'm parallels here because that was a devastating loss for Jordan. Devastating loss. He has to get over it mentally. He has to recognize it mentally. So I'm saying this for Josh as well. He has to understand why he lost. Yeah, and I accept it, and you don't make excuses. You don't just say whatever. Oh, people are saying wait, people are saying this, but you can't just blame other things. It's like with Jordan. I've never said, oh, that's why he lost. He wasn't right, but he made the wrong decisions when he got in there. And also the things that he hadn't learned yet and he wasn't good enough yet at cost him the fight. So then going forward, you teach him how to manage those moments when it gets rough, and going forward, how to protect himself a little bit more in those up close moments when somebody's trying to bully you, somebody gets past the slick, gets past the skills, gets past the hand speed, and they get onto your chest. And that's what you've got to be able to know what to do. And sometimes it's not about continuously working just because they're right in front of you and you're putting pressure and working, because they're making you work when you don't want to work or when you don't need to work. By the time, shut them down, break up the rhythm, stop the attacks, try and get out of those spots with as little damage as possible. Then you get your space, and then you're doing what you're doing to break them down. But it's very, very hard, because if you're boxing at guy, if you're boxing at a level that you've not boxed at before, these are the things. When we step fighters up, we believe that the talent's right. We believe that they're ready, but you don't know because they've not fought at that level yet. So you don't actually know. So you can't be like 100% confident, say, "Oh yeah, we pissed this. We've got no chance of losing." You don't actually know because you've never boxed at that level. You've never, if you've never been in them deep waters, you don't know how they're going to react. You don't know if they're going to be able to get through that until they're in that position. But then once they've crumbled in that position, doesn't mean that that's it. That's always going to happen every time they go into that level. People say that, "Oh, that's it. He's found his level," and things like that. It doesn't have to happen. David Haye against Carl Thompson, similar sort of thing to Josh Kelly. Similar sort of thing. First few rounds looking great, but I just thought that maybe he was trying to punch a little bit too hard and put too much effort into things too early. Trying to be. I'm not saying I'm saying what I see of it. I'm not saying I was right, but it was almost like it was trying to, because it was so much bigger. And there was a lot made about how big he looked in the ring. After the weigh-in and on fight night, it looked massive, it looked huge. It was almost like it was trying to implement his strength and his size along with the speed onto Avanesyan to put him in a box and make him think, "Fucking hell, he's not just fast, he's strong as well." But with somebody like Avanesyan, who is battle hardened, who's been through that kind of shit over and over again, that don't work. It's like trying to go to fight with a tough Mexican. You're putting yourself in a position where they're able to use their assets, their strengths, and so that makes it, even though they may technically not be as good as you, that makes it more of an even fight and puts the ball in their court where they can use their assets. If they can't use their assets, if you stop them from using their assets, then it helps you get through those fights, and it helps you. It helps you navigate it. Sometimes it's about navigating, and it's not always about trying to prove that you're better at somebody at their own game, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't want to go like full analyst because that's not what I am, but you used to talk about Josh trying to implement his size as well. He's good up close. He's neat on the inside. He's comfortable slipping out angles, like, if I can say so. So I suppose it's just more something about David that made him feel uncomfortable than more David won the fight than Josh lost the fight. Because I think, especially with the English media, we're almost making out that Josh lost the fight for himself.
David won the fight. At this point in time, and again, it's this point in time, Josh Kelly wasn't, with what he knows in that ring right now, he wasn't ready for that fight.
And there's no shame in that.
It doesn't mean that he's not. No. It doesn't mean that he's not going to be ready for that kind of fight again in another year, 2 years' time. It doesn't mean that. It's how he absorbs this loss and comes back from it. Avanesyan was a step too far right now. So we talk about when kids turn pro and betting into the pro game, getting that experience. But then when the fighting guys at a gym and people are, that's what a waste of time that is. This. Shouldn't be fighting them. We need stepping up, put them in a real fight. So he start putting them up in each step. Each step that they go through, they're handling it comfortably. It's too comfortable. He needs to fight. He needs a bigger test. He needs a bigger test. He needs a bigger test. So then you put them into a bigger test, and on paper you would look at we did it on paper. You would look at Avanesyan's feet. You'd look at his style, and you'd look at his speed. What you've seen in Josh Kelly so far, the speed and everything like that. And you think it'd be too short for him. But the problem is what happens if they get past the sharpness? Can he handle it in a dogfight? Can he handle it at this point on the inside? And that's what you've got to. If you think that yes, your man can, and if you've seen him do that over and over again in the gym, and you know he can do that, fine. But has he been doing it with sparring partners that are a lower level to him? Or has he been doing it with sparring partners that are a higher class of him in that style? that's quite a big factor as well, you know. But Avanesyan was a beast, and he wouldn't be denied. And it was like they knew what they had to do to win. They didn't have to do anything more than what Avanesyan is. Just fight him, just grind him down, and beat him up. And so they went in doing what they knew that David can do every single fight. Well, that's how he fights. That's how he does it. And you know, and Josh wasn't ready at this time.
Before I come on to David,
it's easy to overanalyze and say, oh, Josh should have done that, should have done this, should have. Anybody can say should have done this, should have done that. Anyone can say that after a fight. Anybody can. When Josh caught him in the first round, second round, something like that, caught me good left hook and Ava just stumbled a little bit. If Josh had stepped on him and cleaned him out, then everybody talks about, oh, unbelievable. It came out, used his size, used his strength as well as his speed, and just overpowered the stronger man that, you know, we didn't think was going to be like that. That's how boxing can work sometimes. But it didn't, yeah. Hindsight's great, and we all love to talk about hindsight because it's opinions and it's talking points, and that's what keeps the sport alive. That's what we do. We talk about shit that happened. But you have to give credit to David Avanesyan. It was too good, too relentless, too strong, too hardened for Josh Kelly in this moment in time. It doesn't mean that this has to be the end for Josh Kelly. It's all down to his mentality, how he handles it, how he comes back, what he takes from it.
I don't want to seem like I'm digging Gareth Davis out here, by the way, but I just watched an interview just this morning and that he done with Umar last night, and I just wanted to know what you thought of this idea, because it's not something I've heard anyone else suggest. He said perhaps Kelly has to go around, and from a trainer's perspective as well, Dave, I'm asking this, has to go around perhaps gyms and not go to war with people, but go around gyms in your Mexicos, your States, and fight people of different sort of grain than sparring you might get, perhaps mainstream sparring for him in this country, and perhaps gain experience on that path. Is that an idea that could suit, perhaps?
Well, listen, there's fighters that have done things like that. You know, we look at the amount of times that Gallagher's fighters have spent in the Wildcard. I would imagine all the Smith brothers, all the team go out to the Wildcard quite a lot. I've taken out Hopi and Jordan out to the Wildcard, to Manny Robles' gym, to Chicago. They've sparred out there. Jordan's sparred out in Japan. It's great experience. Yes, it is great experience, but it's not just about sparring. It's what are you doing in them sparring sessions. You know, it's not a case of just going out there and getting battled and shit like that. That's you're taking damage in sparring in the gym on a daily basis. That adds to your wear and tear and scrambles your brain, because not everybody's that style of fighter where they can stand there and have toe-to-toe fight. You know, it's not about that. You try not to have to do it. You manage the moments, and yes, you got to fight a little bit, but you got to be defensively savvy enough just to ride things out. And you know, so the experience of that is great. But like I said, you can go to America and I see people raving about having these gym wars. Fucking gym wars. That's the greatest thing to shorten your career and slow you down and you know, take away that edge and that sharpness. So it's not just about going out and battling. Like I said, not everybody can afford to go out to Americans. Like, you know, we was fortunate the last couple of years. We've been to LA, Chicago, and you know, my fighters have had great sparring out there. But we use sparring to work on things, and that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do.
Yeah. And just quickly, after a previous week where Conor come under some scrutiny, I think it's only right we give just a little bit of time to praise Adam and the corner work, because in a fight where there's more than the European title on the line, we're talking pride, ego. Yeah, that was good. That was good corner work.
Yeah. He timed it spot on, absolutely perfect. He gave his man every chance, and then he knew the tide was turning. He gave him every chance to turn it around, and that was a perfect stoppage, really.
And quickly on David before we move on, he's very raw, and that's not a dig at David. He's exceptional at his own craft, his own style. Do you see him moving on to world level now? It's a hard weight to win a world title at. You've got exceptional fighters, 3 very different belt holders as well, stylistically. But do you see David as a world level fighter now?
Have I lost you?
No, I've got you.
Do you know the thing about Avanesyan? There are certain fighters out there that you look at, and people did this about Bellew. You look at fighters like that, Avanesyan, Bellew. Sometimes you look at them on YouTube, you look at them on TV, and you think it's not that good. Then you get in the ring with them, they're a bit better than what you think. And it's just maybe the timing that you can't gauge somebody's toughness as well on YouTube. Not until you get in there. You can't gauge somebody's physical strength and just that physical presence as well. I think Avanesyan's got that physical presence where, yes, he punches hard, but more so than just being an hard puncher, he's got a physical presence about him in the ring that just fucking drills you back, drives you back. And so he is better than what he looks on screen. And I would love to see him get a world title shot. But again, I'm talking about experience. But experience you can't buy, you have to go through. So the fights that he's at the levels that he's at, even the fights that he's lost, are part of what's made him the all-round fighter that he is now and what we're seeing. When you're competing against the top fighters, you soak that shit up. You pick things up, you develop as a fighter, and then you take it to the next fight, take the next fight. And so sometimes people look at records as numbers. I'd rather look at records at who they fought and what they'll have taken from each one of those fights. What have they faced? When you face something and then you see it again, the first time you might not have handled it well, but then now you've got a reference point. What didn't I do so well in that one that now I can adjust, so that this time I face that same sort of style, I can be better at. I would like to see Avanesyan get a world title crack now. Yeah, and listen to his interview afterwards. How can you not like that guy? Really, really thankful. I'm really pleased for Karl Greaves as well. Karl was boxing when I was boxing, obviously at a better level. But then, he's been a promoter, a manager and trainer, and he's one of these guys that's done it on a small circuit, looking after loads and loads of fighters. And now he's getting some credit and some, it was nice to hear David speak so highly of him. That's nice, because it's just come along with David Avanesyan. It's been doing it for years. He's worked with a lot of fighters and keeping British boxing going. And that's nice to see. It's nice to see. It's like when Steffi's had the success with Terry Harper and his other fighters that are coming through and with the McDonald's and stuff. It's nice to see when guys have worked hard behind the scenes on the smaller circuits for so long, and then they get a break, because everyone that works hard in this sport, there's enough room in this sport. There's enough success available in this sport for everybody to get a piece of it. Boxing goes in waves, but it just makes it nice. I like it when I see people that have been striving along in their own lane, sort of thing, not getting the credit, and then boom, they get that fighter. Everybody dreams about getting that fighter that propels them. It's just nice. And listening to them both speaking there, it was great. So I'd love them to see it. I'd love them to get a massive world title fight. A big world title fight. That'd be great.
Yeah, just a quick one on Carl, actually, because I just sort of want to tell this. I remember going to an MTK show and he was in 3 away corners in a row. Now, I think he done it all for free as well. He didn't even ask for like a score. Do you know what I mean? He done it all for free. He was in 3 away corners in a row. And I'm sure he weren't even there with his own fighter that night. I'm sure he was just there because he was hanging around the scene. He done 3 away corners in a row for free, Carl. So yeah, he's a really good bloke.
And that shows you, and that's it, and that's why, you know, people are giving out good energy and people are just grafting away and just sticking with it and staying nice people. You get your day in the sun, and it does come round. That's great. You've seen it with John Pegg as well. You know, when he had Sam Eggington in the big nights and stuff. You know, Peggy's another one that's been grafting away for years, just on the sort of smaller circuit. So yeah, it's great. There's so many more out there. There's so many more, and you know, there's plenty of success available in this sport for us all to have success, and for all, you know, to have good nights as well as bad nights. Because trust me, the bad nights are fucking really bad in this sport. You have a fighter that gets beat, it's devastating. People don't understand that the trainers. It's so easy for trainers to have the boot stuck in them, because when the fighter wins, it's the fighter that's the talent, and it's the fighter that was great. When the fighter loses, the coach is shit. The coach should have done this. The coach was that. That's what kind of gig it is. That people don't see the weeks and weeks that they're spending in the gym with a fighter. Might not have a fight. The weeks and weeks, the wear and tear on the pads and things like that, and the stresses and the thinking about the fight non-stop. Going home, your missus trying to talk to you, and you're thinking about the fight. You think you're not really, you know what I mean? You're trying to pay attention, but you're kind of not. People don't see that side of things, and you know, and until you're in the big fights, they're getting shit money. You know, coaches get shit money, and if your fighter's only getting, you know, a grand a fight, couple of grand a fight, the trainer's getting 10% of that. They're still putting all the work in, still doing all that, and still getting slagged off, still getting the pressure. Whether you've got a kid that's starting out and he's building his career, his fans, his family, and everything like that, their eyes on you. If their boy's not performing, they're looking at the trainer. Oh, he should be doing this. He should be doing that. Oh, he shouldn't be doing this. So much pressure on him. So it's great. It's great when different coaches are getting success with the fighters. It's great. It really is.
I said last one, but just a quick one before we move on to Jordan. The natural path was sort of what we thought would be Conor Benn and Josh Kelly. Say Conor comes through Samuel. Them two would headline a show against each other in the summer. Massive domestic clash. Is the interest still there to see that if Conor comes through Samuel? I'm not talking about 2 years down the line, because they might even fight for a world title in 5 years. Who knows? But I'm talking, if Conor comes through Samuel, is the interest still there to see that next?
Would you still not watch that fight now? Now, because Josh Kelly's got beat, would you not bother watching it now?
Mate, I watch live streams of fights from Kazakhstan, so I'd watch it. Yeah.
Right. But of course,
of course I would. Yeah.
Of course, the interest there, because what this is the other thing as well. What you have to understand is that David Avanesyan is a world-class fighter. He's been mixing at world level, you know. Josh Kelly was 11 fights in, got a draw against a good fighter. He got the draw. I think he got a lot of, you know, he didn't get any credit for that. Well, that was a step up. He's jumping up. Conor Benn isn't a world level fighter yet. He's not been mixing at world level and getting,
so it works,
you know, big wins. So it's kind of like, yeah, and it's an exciting fight. It's a really good fight. But yeah, so if that fight got made, you'd still watch it. You'd still be interested in it. You'd still be excited about it. You know, I love Conor Benn. I love his attitude. I love how he carries himself. I just see him and I just think he just reminds me of his dad so much. I mean, I was lucky enough to grow up as Nigel Benn was coming through, and so I've seen that journey, that ride. But I see Conor and I see his dad, but I love the fact that yes, he is loaded. Yes, he has got money. yes, you know, he's got all the trappings already, but he chooses to fight in the way he does. He chooses to roll the dice, and that's good. That is that, and the pressure that he's under being Nigel's son, that's fucking mad. So you've got to respect him for that. But away from the ring as well, he's a nice kid. So, you know, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of his, and I'm a fan of Josh Kelly's as well. It's, you know, it's just it's boxing, isn't it? You know, it's full of different personalities, full of dramas, full of different results, ups and downs. It's all part of the game, really. It's all part of the fun.
Yeah, and he was banging on the broadcast. A shout out to Conor for that as well. Jordan Gill. Now, I know you'd have seen the response. He got a lot of praise online on Saturday night, and I know obviously praise isn't the be all and end all, but it must be nice to see after, you know, I know you spoke about that time so much, but that time around 8 months ago, it must be nice to see everyone talking up Jordan. Because it's a lot of hard work.
Really
It's the reward of a lot of hard work, isn't it? So.
Oh, do you know what? Yeah. I cannot speak any higher for the kid. He's shown all the dedication, all the heart and the desire. He's had demons in his head. You know, I've said it before. I said it before the fight. Don't need to hear it again. But when he sat on the side of the ring after training, giving his all in training, and he's just looking, and you can see it as he's looking. He's got Hopi and Lerone talking about their fights coming up and things like that, and he's not got a date. Mate, that's hard. That's hard. And it's not just about being dedicated when you ain't got a date and staying in the gym. You got to stay around your weight. You had 2 weeks. It's one thing, you know, being dedicated and staying in the gym and things like that. You're a professional fighter, but being around the weight, keeping your weight at a sort of position where you can drop to get to championship weight in a couple of weeks, that's real dedication. You know, he's looking around, he's sat on the side of the ring after hard training sessions, he's looking at Lerone, looking at Hopi, and you know, they've got fight dates, they know what's happening with their career. And all he's going on is might say, so listen, I promise you will fight. I will get you a fight for February. I will get you a fight for February. And I'm on Eddie's case every day. And then when the call come, will he be ready for February 20th? It's like, yeah, no problem. 10 rounds, 12 rounds, 9 stone. We want a title fight, not a problem. And he done it, you know. And it's actually because he lived, you know. It's the sacrifice. I know I ever can do that for 10 weeks, whatever, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. Fighters like to do that, but you have to do it in this current climate. You have to, if you want to be fighting for titles, but you're not that fighter that's got a plan, this, then you've got to be ready. You've got to be ready to step in. You've got to take your opportunity. The phone call could have come and I could have turned around and said, listen, we've got a fight. It's 9 stone. Can you make a weight? And it could have been, oh, I'm too heavy, I can't make it. Your opportunity is gone. And that's happened to a few people that I managed when I picked up the phone. Got your Commonwealth title fight. Do you want it? Can't make weight. 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away. Oh, I can't make weight. It's very difficult for them because like everybody else, they're human. And things are very, very tough now mentally. But for those that can stick with it and have that little bit of inspiration that it can happen. 2 weeks ago, Jordan Gill was doing everything right, living right, doing it all right, but inside he was fucking down because there wasn't any reason why he's doing it other than just to improve. There wasn't a fight date. Fighters love fight dates because if you know they don't earn unless they're fighting. But while they're training, and especially if they're training somewhere that's different to where they live, they're still paying rent, they're still paying for all the food, they're still paying for everything that, you know, camp costs. And then you're sparring, you know, you've got proper sparring and you sparring with people like Leon Woodstock regular, and it's not easy spars, it's real spars because Leon's coming up to a fight, a title fight, he knows he's ready, so he's listening to Leon talking about his title fight. Talking to Lerone, who's got his European title fight coming up. You've got Hope, who's got a fight date. And again, it's the same thing. Well, I ain't got a date, but I'm training as though I've got a date. And it's paid off. It's paid off. And that's the thing. I always said to him, so listen, I remember Johnny Nelson winning the European title, 7 days notice. The only reason why I could say that is because he kept his weight around a weight where he could drop safely and comfortably and be strong at. And he was fit because he was training. And he was sharp because he was sparring. You know, and he became European champion. It changed his life. Jordan's back now where he was a couple of years ago, but a bit further because he's better because of that experience of a couple of years ago. And the win is over a better fighter.
And also, with the way they've been taking souls over here lately, just to have a Brit beat a Mexican, it's a thumbs up. It's a bloody thumbs up. Yes.
Yeah, but do you know what? How good has it been? Because it's been guys that are coming. This is how your fighters develop. It's against fighters that are coming to win.
Yeah.
It's against fighters that are coming to win, and it makes it better for fans. It makes it better for TV. It's better for your fighter because if he can come through it, he becomes a better fighter himself. And if he doesn't come through it and he learns from it, he still becomes a better fighter. The only thing that, like I said, the only thing that I've got, the only issue that I've got is that promoters, they want the fighters to take the step up. They want, you've got to give them tests. You've got to be good enough. If you're not good enough, you're not good enough at this point in time. Yeah, fair enough. I get that. But then don't just fuck them off or don't just discard them. You know, give them another opportunity to bring them through because they're willing to take those fights. There are plenty of fighters out there that knocking back fights. Plenty of them. But yeah, then they'll get offered another one, get offered. It's like fucking hell. But yet you've got kids there that are willing to take the fights. Yeah, so it's all well and good telling fighters and telling managers or trainers and say, oh well, he's got to take a real fight. But then if he gets beat because he's took a step up, don't have him right at the back of the queue again. Give him an opportunity again.
Yeah, and I feel like, and I don't know if you've been in the sport for 10 times longer than me, Dave, but I don't know if this progression we're starting to see it now. It's always been like, oh, there should be no shame in losing, and like you said, perhaps Jordan's a shining example of how sweet it feels now after the Tinoco fight, how sweet it feels, the progression and him being at the same stage but a better fighter. But not putting shame on these losses and people losing. Are we finally getting there, or are we never going to be at the point where people accept defeat like that?
We'll never be there because of Twitter and social media, how people still bring up, yeah, but you lost to so-and-so. Yeah. Listen, fucking hell. You'll go on about, Carl Froch will be talking about his career or whatever, and then people tweet up about the fact he got beat by Andre Ward or something, he got school back. It doesn't matter. Look at everything else that he's done with his career. It's the same thing. I'm not just talking about Carl Froch, I'm talking about everybody else. People will never let you forget when you got beat. But ultimately, a lot of people out there, as soon as you get beat, they say you're shit. Never going to do anything. No, blah, blah, get iced again. This. Going into this fight, Matt Tweescott is going to get iced again. This Mexican's going to knock him out. He can do what Tinoco did. Rah, rah, rah. He's putting himself out there to fucking do it. You're sat at home typing on the keyboard, telling a fighter can't do it because you daren't do it. You can't do it yourself. If you can't do it yourself, and if you're not willing to take yourself out of that comfort zone, to push yourself, to test yourself, to see if you can do something that you might not be good enough to do, then shut the fuck up. Let the people do, and just be having a pick. Oh yeah, well, I think it's a tough fight. I don't think he's going to win it, but that's not a problem. But it's when they're digging them out and they're being insulting about it, like you're shit, you got beat, putting up memes and stuff like that. Oh my god, they're the kind of people that you're boxing a fighter that's a bit of a test, but you should be. You're putting a great performance. You're fighting a bum. You're only beating bums. They want you to fight real fights, but then if you get beat in a real fight, they want to slate you and never let you forget it for the rest of your life. In the UFC, and listen, I'm not a fan of UFC. I don't watch UFC. I might watch Conor McGregor, right? But I'm not a fan of UFC. In the UFC, they don't really give a shit about records, do they? If the fighter puts up a good fight, they bring them back. They fight another fight, and they fight another fight, they fight another fight, and some of these fighters have got a few losses on the records, but they're in competitive fights, and the fans fucking appreciate that. And the fans go home talking about the fight and what a great fight it were. And this, they don't just then turn around and start saying, he's shit, he's never going to do anything. Is this, is that? Records are just numbers. And ultimately, I would love for our sport to get to that where people don't just think that because you've lost a fight, you can't make it. For all the people that think that once you've lost a fight, you can't make it, Josh Kelly, Jordan Gill, Josh Warrington, or whoever, when you've lost a fight and they say, shit, it was never as good anyway, it was all hype job, it was all this. Look through the records of some of the greatest fighters that ever lived. Take your head out of Mayweather's little world and look through the records of all the greats. And yeah, I promise you, with a lot, most of them fighters, they have all lost fights and then come back. A lot of them fighters lost fights before they become world champion, then came back. Some fighters, undefeated, became world champion, had a crushing loss, came back and became better fighters, better champions. Some fighters, I remember Vladimir Klitschko getting bounced about against Ross Puritty, getting bounced, was it Corey Sanders, Lamont Brewster, and everybody saying, he's shit, he's fragile, he's never going to do anything.
Especially the manner of those defeats, when you look at the reign and how sort of upright and faultless his reign was, and you look at the manner of those defeats. Oh yeah,
exactly. The manner of those defeats, he was crushed every time, crushed. Fucking don't get much worse than that. Fucking falling around on the floor, fucking crushed. He reigned for about 10 years as a premier heavyweight on planet. So don't tell me that because some kid takes a step up out of his depth when he's inexperienced and he gets beat, he can't do anything. His career's done. He'll never do anything. It's just history. Just look at boxing. Look at this sport. Look at what people have done. Bernard Hopkins lost, came back. Cottle's lost big fights. Do you say Cottle's shit? Do you know what I mean? Roberto Duran's got lost on his record. Do you say he's shit? Ray Leonard's got lost on his record. Do you say he's shit? There's a pattern. There's a pattern. And these people that just write off fighters, they're the same fighters, same people that slag them off because they win a fight comfortable. Everybody wants somebody to be tested. Everybody wants somebody to be in a real fight. Everyone wants, I want to see him get hurt. I want to see what happens when he gets hurt. But then as soon as he does get hurt, and even if he wins the fight, oh, he's chinny. Oh, when he steps up, he's going to get beat. Oh, he can't take a body shot. Oh, make your mind up. Just, do you know what I mean? Just, there's too many people that just love to see the negative side of sport. Any sport, but boxing, they love to just focus on the negative side of boxing. And do you know what? So many good sides to boxing. So many plus points to boxing. You know, bravery, fucking desire, will to win, skills, whatever. It's the greatest sport. It really is. And people should appreciate it a little bit more.
Let's talk about one of the positives then, because obviously, about Jordan, actually, obviously I said to you, he could have fought Reece Mould for the British title, and there was that British route he could have gone down, and you said for his development going forward, this looks like it will be the path that suits. And obviously, fans would rather see Jordan in a domestic fight, let's be honest, because someone they know of. And now for him to win this and now be lined up with a fight that's always sort of been there in the background with Isaac Lowe on the biggest platform, this path now, I mean, you must be happy with the way this could go.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So good, that fight as well. So good.
It's a really good fight. Isaac's done really well. You know, he's had some great fights earlier on against your Ryan Walsh's, your Ryan Doyle's. Took himself off to America and he's boxing on Tyson Fury's undercards on ESPN and getting good viewing figures and doing well with his career. You know, Jordan's been doing his thing. Those two, it's a really, really good fight. It's a really, really good fight, and I can't wait for it. Please God, it happens. We're there. We're ready. You know, we said that right from the start. Said that, you know, I didn't want to speak about it beforehand, but that was a fight that was mentioned possibly after. I just wanted to focus on Saturday just gone. Soon as that was out of the way, let's get it on. And the sooner it's made, you know, Eddie needs to get that sorted. And it was good because I heard Eddie mention it in his interview with Coogan. So once Eddie mentions it and he says it public, then you know that pressure's on him to deliver. I've been getting so many messages off of people saying that's the fight they want to see. So it's a great fight. And Isaac's got character as well. He's a character. So, you know, that'll be a fun build-up. And yeah, on the biggest stage, fucking hell, yes, please.
Just being involved in that, now I can see like the smile on your face, just because obviously you would have been involved from a Sky perspective. I know you probably would have done fight breakdowns, you'd have been on some form of analysis panel or whatever, but to be involved from what you want to do, like you're involved in the biggest boxing event of all time.
Yeah, so. You know what? I'm just a jammy fucker, aren't I? It's just pure luck. I've been involved in some fucking huge nights, you know, your Bellew fights, your Bellew Makabu, Goodison, your Bellew Hay fights, an undisputed title fight with Bellew against Usyk. I've been involved in some good nights. Canelo in Guadalajara as a coach. So I'm lucky. I'm really lucky. But if I'm not even thinking about it until it's done. I won't think about it because I don't want to get to be good. So, but for my fighter, for Jordan to come from boxing in front of a few hundred people on small shows, in leisure centres, away from TV, to be sat. I remember I didn't manage him there. I didn't train him. He was I had somebody on, and he was sat there in changing rooms, gloved up for hours, waiting to go out. He sold £10,000 worth of tickets on an ITV show, and then he didn't end up boxing because he swapped opponents, and he didn't have an opponent. And him being so devastated from that night, and then I look at how his career's gone, the loss, the illness, the comeback, and then if he can get to box in a good fight, a big fight like Isaac Lowe, on the biggest show of my lifetime of sport, you know, of our generation, and one of the biggest events ever, that'd be amazing. That'd be wicked. So to be involved in that would be amazing. It really would be. But it's not done yet. We've got to see what happens. Eddie needs to pull his finger out and make it happen.
Gives me goosebumps thinking about that event, man. But yeah, anyway, just a quick one on Saturday, because I do want to talk about a certain Sammy Lansky actually for a couple of minutes. But quick final one on Jordan. Yeah, looked good and showed how to beat a Mexican. Like we said this actually in the bubble on the Warrington week. The stereotype of Mexicans come forward, might dip their head in, try and get the nut in the nose, and that they're vicious, they're pests. And he sort of showed how to deal with that, and pretty flawlessly, to be honest.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Listen, if he'd have decided to stand there more and try and be macho with a Mexican, he'd have the shit kicked out of him. You have to pick your moments. There's times when you have to do it, but you have to pick your moments. You have to control the distance, control the range, work the body, ride out those rocky moments, learn how to nullify it and how to handle things on the inside. And yeah, his ring generalship was fantastic. Fantastic. Very underrated asset is ring generalship. So I'm over the moon for him. I watched it back on TV and I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. It was everything that we do, everything that I teach with him. He just did it, and he's doing that. I said to him before we went out, when we were in changing rooms, so listen, I said, every time you've stepped up in a bit of a pressure fight, I remember Cunningham, Doyle, Bellotti, even Dominguez's first, when he headlined at Peterborough, the pressure that was on him there. Every time he's done that, he's done what we've worked on in the gym. He's performed. I love that. I love it when you work on something constantly with fight and they go out there and they do it. Gav McDonald did it against Gamal Yafai. Everything. It was like you watched that fight and it was like literally everything that we worked on. He just did. Bellew in the rematch against Hay was literally spot on. That's what should happen in the first fight. after 6 rounds, it went out of window emotionally, right? But what happened in the second fight should happen in the first fight, you know. The finishing shot with McCarville was drilled and worked on that. When you see stuff that you're working on and then you watch it back on, do you know what? That is such a buzz. That is such a buzz. It really is.
Samuel Antwi. I've interviewed Samuel a couple of times, and he was the sort of person where he'd G himself up before an interview, right? I think when he beat Sierrozko at York Hall, he'd G himself up before an interview, knowing he was going to go into it and have to call for people and say, look, no one really wants. I think he won 3 away corners in a row. He was saying to me, nobody wants to fight me, so I'm going to G myself up here and I'm just going to gun for people in this interview, right? Well, started working with Coldwell boxing, got his English title shot, done the business, and he's in the top 10.
I know. Good, isn't it? It's not. Yeah, that's it. Listen, I'm so happy for him. I like the kid and his coach as well, Aaron. Good people. And mate, he's exciting. He can punch. Did a great job.
Paper, isn't it? Darren's
it's a great win. He's a tough man. He's a tough man. So it's a great win. It's his first fight for a year. There's quite a lot of pressure on him. Now you're going to see him flourish, develop, and look better. He'll look better. Do you know what I liked about him? The first text that his coach sent me as soon as I boxed was, he's so much better than this. But it was like almost apologetic. We can do better. You've just won European English title. Enjoy it. That's fucking well done. Enjoy it. Yes, we can talk about what he can do better and what he should have done better. That's not a problem. But that shows you their attitude. I like that, because straight away they've won a title, but they've not thought, yes, we've cracked it. We're like, okay, we need to step it up. Now we're in that position when we're going to fight the better guys. We need to step it up. We need to be this. We need to that. I love that attitude. And he's going to be in some great fights. It really is. So yeah, we shall see where we go from here on in.
Yeah, Aaron's got massive belief in him as well. Every time I speak to Aaron, it's like he can't speak highly enough of how far Samuel can go, because it is rare that you get people going from small hall shows to becoming world champion. But I feel like he believes Samuel could be pound for pound #1. He has this like tunnel vision of just believing so much in Samuel, which obviously coaches do believe in their fighter. But it seems to be a link that works. So I'm pleased with Samuel. He's such a nice guy.
Working. He is. I'm over the moon for him. I really am. And it was nice. It was nice what he said afterwards in the interview. It's nice. It's a nice team set up. We've got a good team there. So yeah, I'm over the moon for the kid.